Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to talk about the powers of J. Now we'll talk about the negative integer powers, all right? In the previous video, we talked about the positive integer powers, but now we're going to talk about the negative integers powers. So before I proceed, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you've not clicked the notification bell, please don't forget to do so that when I post new videos, you'll be the first person to know, all right? So let's go. We're gonna start. So just a quick reminder of what I said in the previous video. All right. So I told you that when we're talking about the powers of J, there are two types. Okay, we've talked about. I said the first one was the positive integer powers, and I've discussed this in the previous video. And what we're gonna talk about here now is now the negative. All right. We're going to talk about the negative integer powers. Okay, so we're going to talk about the negative integers power. So if you've not watched my previous video on the positive, please, it's a good time for you to go back and have a look. Okay, all right. So let's start now. So the first one. So this is the B now. So the second one we're talking about here is going to be the negative integer powers. Okay. So, but just a reminder as well of the positive, okay? I talked about this. I told you that when you have J squared, it's equal to -1. And I also told you as well that you can also get J raised to the power 4 is equal to 1. So we talked about this in the previous video, right? Now I'm going to zoom in into J squared equal to -1. So now, if you look at this, okay, so let's look at J squared is equal to -1, all right? Now, what I can do, I can now divide both sides by J. Is this making sense? So that means when you divide both sides by J, this J is going to cancel this. So you're going to have J is going to be equal to -1 over what? J. Now, remember the laws of indices? I told you that 1 over A is the same thing as saying A raised to the power -1. Are you seeing it? So that means 1 over J is going to be what? The same thing as saying um, yeah, so 1 over J is going to be the same thing as saying J raised to the power what? -1. So that means we can now say J is exactly the same thing as what? J raised to the power what? -1. Is this making sense? So with that being said now, I can now conclude that if we now say that J is the same thing as minus J to the power of -1, so I can say also minus J, if I multiply both sides by minus, should be the same thing as J raised to the power of -1. And this is a formula I need you to keep in mind for negative powers. So J is equal to minus J raised to the power -1, or minus J is the same thing as J raised to the power what? -1. All right, so let's apply this concept now, okay? So if, for instance, now we have here, we have J to the power of -1. We've already agreed that J to the power of -1 is minus J. Easy, right? It's no big deal there because we're already given. Now, what about if we have J raised to the power of -2? Are you seeing it? So J raised to the power of -2 is the same thing as saying J raised to the power of 2 multiplied by what? All raised to the power minus 1. Are you seeing it? And from the last video, I told you j raised to the power 2 is the same thing as what? Minus 1. And raised to the power minus 1. And this is going to give you what? Minus what? 1. Because we have minus 1, all raised to the power minus 1 is going to give us 1 over minus 1, and that's going to still give us minus 1. Are you seeing it? So that's the reason why you still get minus 1 at the end of the day. All right? Good. Now let's take it a step higher now, okay? Let's assume we have this now. Take this up a bit. Okay, so let's assume we have j raised to the power minus 3. Okay, so we can now say this is the same thing as saying j raised to the power 2 multiplied by j raised to the power minus 1. Okay, now if you put it this way, it's going to be a problem because j raised to the power 2 plus minus 1 is going to give us j raised to the power 2 minus 1, and that will give you j. That's not what you're looking for. But if I say j raised to the power minus 2 multiplied by j raised to the power minus 1 is going to give me j raised to the power what? Minus what? 3. Because minus 1 plus minus 1 will give you minus 3. Are you seeing it? So here, so just for those that are not following, so it's going to be j minus 2 plus minus 1, and that will give you plus times minus is minus, it will be j minus 3. So that means we can't have 2 here. It has to be what? Minus what? 2. Okay? And also, we've already solved minus 2 already, and we know the minus 2 is equal to what? Minus 1 multiplied by j raised to the power minus 1 is going to be minus what? J. We solved that earlier, and then this is going to give us what? J. Okay? Now let me pick j raised to the power minus 4. So j raised to the power minus 4 is going to be, same thing, j raised to the power minus 2 all squared, because we are applying the same principle we talked earlier. Laws of indices. So you know that a raised to the power m all to the power n, so it's going to be m times n, is going to give you a raised to the power what? Mn. So it's the same thing. So minus 2 times 2 will give us minus 4. But we already know that minus 2 is equal to what? Minus 1 raised to the power 2, and then to give you what? 1. So you can see that this is similar to the positive integers, okay? There are only 4 possible answers you can get. The 4 possible answers you can get minus j, you can get positive j, you can get minus 1, and you can also get positive 1. So I'm going to write it down. So for students that are taking notes as well. All right, so this is similar to positive integers. So this is similar to positive integers. In which you have 4 possible answers. Okay. So you can either have positive j, negative j, okay, or you can have positive 1 or negative 1. So you can have any of this. So quickly, I'm going to write down the rules, okay, for this that will help you to solve questions. All right, so there are 4 rules to take note of when you're solving this kind of questions. Number 1 is that when you have j raised, I've solved this already, to power of minus 1, or let's say power of minus 2, your answer is what? Minus 1. Okay. Number 2, when you have j raised to the power of -4, the answer is what? Is 1. Okay. Thought similarly, so like I said earlier, all the powers, to make it easier, should be expressed in terms of J4 and J2. Okay, so all of them should be expressed in terms of J4 and J2. Okay, because it's easier this way. Okay, you might end up finding a more easier method, but I usually find that when I do it by expressing 4 and 2 as factors, it makes the simplification all very, 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 very more easier to work with. So, but in order to use this, you have to be sure and ensure that you know how to the laws of indices very well, and you can play around with it. So number 4, j raised to a negative integer or negative power, all right, is reduced to one of the following. Um, all right, so take this a bit up. So it's reduced to one of the following 4 answers. So it could be either positive j or negative j, or it could be what? Positive 1 or negative 1. So that means when you solve this, these are the 4 possible answers you can get. All right. So you can either get positive j or negative j, or you can get positive 1 or negative 1. So these are the 4 possible answers you can get. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick an example. Let me pick an example for this so we can play around with more. All right. So let's assume we have this example here. We have j raised to the power what? -8. So this is the same thing as saying j raised to the power of -4 times 2, because -4 times 2 will give you 8. So remember I said you have to simplify this in terms of -4 and -2 so that it will be easier for you to do. So in the power of -4 and -2. So I think I can also put it here, not just 4 and 2, let's say -4 and -2, so that it will be more clearer to those that are just joining from this video, okay? So in -4 and -2. Now we also know that -4 is equal to 1. So that's 1 squared, and the final answer is going to be what? 1. So let's pick one more, then I'll give you some exercises to try. So what we have j raised to the power -19. Okay, so 19. So we can break this down with j -4. So how many times? 4 times 5, 20. So that means the closest one is 4 times 4. And that will give us 16. And -16, then we're going to be left with -3. Yep. Are you seeing it? So because we know that 4 times 4 is equal to minus 16, okay? Then we need minus 3 to give you the minus 19, all right? So that's the reason why I broke it down like that, all right? So then with this now, or if you want to, you can also break down minus 3 as well. But we solved this earlier, so minus 4 is the same thing as saying 1 is power 4. And earlier I told you minus 3 was equal to j, all right? So that means the final answer for this is going to be j. So we solved minus 3 earlier. If you go up a bit, you will see before I talked about the rules there, we solved minus 3 and we found that it is what? J. So usually it's important to know the first 4, which is usually the most important ones to know. Then you can then from there play around with the rest. Okay? All right, so we're done with that. Now, let me give you some exercises to try. You can try this once and maybe discuss with a friend or put it in the comment section, or you can send me an email if you can't solve it and I will help you out. So the first one is, for instance, finding j minus 30. Maybe number 2, we have should be j minus 15. Number 3, we have j minus 32. Number 4, we have j minus 13. And number 5, we have j minus what? 23. All right, so you can try this once and see if you get the same answer like the rest of the subscribers as well. All right, so let's get cracking now. The next video I'm going to talk about, we're going to go a little bit deeper now. So I'm going to talk about the complex number general equation. So the equation of complex numbers, we're going to talk about that in the next video. So I will advise that please, if you've not subscribed, please do that. And also click the notification bell so that when I post the next video on the complex number general equation, you'll be the first person to know. And if you have any question or you have any concerns, please don't hesitate to contact me, and I'm really happy to get back to you on it. All right, so that is that for that. So now we're done with the positive integer powers, and we're done with the negative integer powers for this. So I'm going to see you in the next video where we'll talk about the complex number general equation. So I will see you soon.